How's it hanging, everybody? So today I wanted to talk about two indie RPGs that are being released right around the same time, talking Chained Echoes and Sea of Stars. And I thought it would be cool to compare these two games because we have lots of new information about Sea of Stars. We have a release date. We know it's coming in August of this year, 2023. And we also, of course, had the release of Chained Echoes in December, I think it was December 8th of 2022. So it's been out for just over 2 months now. I've completed the game, and I've also completed the demo of Sea of Stars, which dropped this past week on the Nintendo Direct, or during the Nintendo Direct. So we now have more information than ever about these two games. Now, why compare these two games, you might ask? And well, I think it's because they just have so much in common. Both of the games have sort of dazzled us with their trailers and the hype around them, and of course the association and the reference point of the 1990s and sort of the golden era of JRPGs, with games like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI serving as major inspirations for both games in the way they look and the way they seem to play, and just about everything else. These are very unabashed, like retro worship RPGs. And let me just say, the only game that we've actually gotten to play all the way through, of course, is Chained Echoes, because it's already available. Chained Echoes is an insanely good game. It is one of my favorite JRPGs of all time. Now, it's not technically Japanese, but I'll call it a JRPG for the purposes of this video. Now, it is a game that I don't think a lot of people are actually finishing and playing to completion because, well, the game came out during a really busy time for JRPGs. I mean, right around the time that like Crisis Core came out and a bunch of other games. Square Enix had an insane second half of 2022. So I'm still awash in that backlog of games. I'm trying very hard to get caught up before we get all the big 2023 releases coming out. But man, 2022 was a serious year for JRPGs, and especially if you like the retro style JRPGs, or if you just like classic JRPGs in general. We had many ports, remakes, remasters, and just retro style games as well. So many coming from Square Enix, and then of course lots of other places too. So in such a busy year, it's hard to want to play a game like Chained Echoes because there's just too much competition. But let me tell you, as somebody who's played through just a gauntlet of 16-bit RPGs in 2022, for me, 2022 was a huge catch-up year. And I mention that because I think it's a little bit relevant to the conversation today, just because I played Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, Phantasy Star 4, Earthbound, Dragon Quest V, Live Alive. Live Alive's not exactly like an all-time great, but very good game. And I played all of these kind of 16-bit era games all in 2022. So I think I have a little bit of a unique reference point for playing a game like Sea of Stars or Chained Echoes, because all of those inspirations for these two games are so fresh on my mind that I think that I'm in a pretty unique position to talk about these games. So anyway, let me just say, yeah, like I said, Chained Echoes is a game that I would urge you to play. This game has an excellent battle system. For me, it never got old, because even when you're in an area or a dungeon or something and you're encountering like a lot of the same enemies, the fights are always a little bit different, and it's because of that overdrive meter. And you've constantly got to, do certain types of attacks to push the meter forward, and certain types of attacks and different actions to pull it backwards. And that constant push and pull makes every fight different and very unique. And it's just so much fun to play. Like, I never got tired of the fights. Every fight that I could have in this game, you don't have to fight every enemy, but I made sure to fight every enemy I could, and I have no regrets. It was a great time. The story of Chained Echoes is absolutely crazy. I can't even like begin to get into any of the details with much effectiveness here, but let me just say, you've got all this war and political strife down on the earth with the humans and all the other species down there. Then you've got sort of godlike human type beings that live alongside the humans, that live for tens of thousands of years and remember ancient times and things like that. And then you've got like actual godlike beings that live on the earth that are all powerful. And then you've got these interdimensional beings, and they're also in the mix. And then you've got this one giant foreboding force of evil that's also out there. And you are listening to all of these different entities, both human on the earth and in the supernatural, and you don't know who to trust, and it's all chaotic and crazy, and there's reincarnation, and there's so much going on with this title and the story. And I really feel like the way it all kind of wraps up at the end, I mean, I will say it's not the greatest ending I've ever played, but the way the kind of overall framework of the story and the universe sort of plays out and pans out, and all of the things that you learn about it all feel very earned. And so I love that about this game so much. And I did something really weird when I played Chained Echoes, by the way. I actually took notes on the entire story. I don't know why exactly, but when I was playing this game, I just, you know, sometimes you play these RPGs and they're very story heavy, and sometimes you're just kind of blasting through the story and you're just, you know, you're reading the dialogue, but how much of it are you really like retaining and really, you know, referencing for later and stuff like that. And I have some issues with that sometimes when I play these games, and I feel like I'm not getting enough out of the story because I just don't always really, you know, sometimes I'm distracted, or sometimes I may miss a bit of key dialogue or whatever. So this time I was like, that's not happening this time. I'm going to make sure that I take into account every little story bit. I'm going to let it marinate. I'm going to consider it. And I'm glad that I did. I'm not sure I recommend you doing that because it's a big time sink, but I did that and I have no regrets. I think this game was worth it, and I think this game has a fantastic story. The game also has very good visuals, as we're seeing right now. The game has great 16-bit style visuals, just like the games of old that we've mentioned, Chrono Trigger and the like. This game takes visual inspiration from those games. However, I feel like Chained Echoes right here, in the trailers, in the build-up, it just doesn't have that same wow factor that Sea of Stars has. And we're about to take a look at the Sea of Stars trailer just to compare and contrast. But Sea of Stars has the extra lighting. Let's actually just pull it up if we could. Sea of Stars is right here, and it's got, we can already see there's like a little bit of a difference, right? Because it has a more sort of organic look, even though it has that pixel art thing happening. It's just, you know, the environments are more, I guess you could say lovingly crafted, for lack of a better word. They're just with the lighting, the effects, the water effects, the sort of particles in the air, all the different things happening, all the different moving parts, the layers, and the overall sort of atmosphere and ambience of this game. It's a better looking game. I think we can agree on that. Now, that does not mean that Chained Echoes is a bad looking game. Quite the contrary. It is a great looking game, I think, or at least a very good looking game. But like I said, it just doesn't have that wow factor. One issue I think that Chained Echoes has is the character portraits, because, you know, when you're selling an RPG like this, those character portraits, like you're seeing right here, they're very important because they really, you know, set this illustrative sort of tone for the game. And because you don't see that much detail on the actual characters as you play the game, the character portraits become that much more important in this genre. So with Sea of Stars, as we can see, there's some very compelling character portraits, and I feel like the character portraits in Chained Echoes, while still good, they just really, like I said, it's all the wow factor. It's all the wow factor. It just doesn't quite have the wow factor. But the reality is, Sea of Stars has a lot to kind of live up to with Chained Echoes. Let me mention really quick that these two games, they don't make or break each other. They don't owe anything to each other. They are two independent projects, and they will hopefully both be great when it's all said and done. And we will have these two amazing things to enjoy. But it's still fun to compare them. So that's kind of why I'm here today. Just wanted to throw that out there really quick. But I did check out the Sea of Stars demo, and it was very fun. There's a lot of cool things going on with the demo, like actually exploring each area is very, very fun because there's all these little hidden secrets, and there's all of this sort of 3D terrain and layers and different levels that you climb up to and climb down on, and it's got that isometric look. There's a lot of Super Mario RPG, I feel. I know people have made that comparison, and I totally see it, especially the way that these sort of environments, the traversal sort of works. So I think that it has very, very good exploration. And I think that there's a lot of cool things with, like the fishing. It's probably the most unique fishing mini game I've ever played. And it looks like the fishing is going to be a pretty decent chunk of the content of the game. I mean, as much as fishing can be, I guess, but it looks like there's going to be opportunities to fish maybe in the dungeons and in the overworld and just sort of all over the place. You can go fishing, and that's pretty cool because the fishing and the cooking and everything can get you out of a bind, especially if you're like in a dungeon, you're about to fight a boss. You don't quite have a store around you, but you do have all these recipes, and you can have a campfire, and you get things done that way. But anyway, Sea of Stars, solid demo, good combat. The story seems, we didn't really get much of the story in this demo, so no real character development to speak of, but it was just a good time. Was it as good as the Chained Echoes demo? I don't even honestly remember the Chained Echoes demo. I don't know if I even played it. I know there was one, but it was, I think a couple years ago or something. So for me, Chained Echoes, I just played through the whole game. So it's a little difficult to compare it to Sea of Stars. But let's say Sea of Stars is a really great game. But man, it's got a lot to live up to with Chained Echoes now in the mix. And I think about a scenario like, the Game Awards. The Game Awards are going to roll around. They always do. And so when they do, let's say, it's a pretty stacked year for RPGs, and only one of these games is going to get nominated. Which one should it be? That's a question that I think about. And right now, I mean, if it were Chained Echoes, I would have no qualms with that because I've played the whole game and it's fantastic. But what if this game is just as fantastic? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see which one of these games turns out to be good. But if you haven't tried it out, try the Sea of Stars demo. It's only about 45 minutes to an hour. Unless you like to dilly-dally and explore everything like I do, then it could be stretched out a little longer, but not much. It's very short. The dungeon that you actually go to is really cool because it has lots of extra rooms that you can engage with that are not part of the main core experience, but there's just so much there to sink into. It's really cool. Chained Echoes, if you take anything away from this video, please play Chained Echoes. If you're into these kind of games, you owe it to yourself to check out this game and experience it in full because it really is that good. Seriously, this game is like a number 6 game. I think it's like my 6th favorite JRPG. Like when I look at all of the ones that I've ever played, I think I've at this time of like 30 or 40 games I've played through, and Chained Echoes, it's way up there at the top. And I've been playing, you know, the best of the best as much as I can. So it truly is worth a checkout. And I would say, with as much coming out right now, I don't know that any of it's as good as Chained Echoes in terms of like the newer releases. So definitely consider it. Definitely consider it. But anyway, guys, that's it for this one. Thanks for checking me out. It's the first time I made a video in a while. So if you're a subscriber and you're checking back in on me, I really appreciate it. Have a good one.